Welcome back to the DroneAcademy.com podcast. My name is Jonathan. As always, I am your host, and today's a special one for me. As a father of two amazing little girls, it's always been my hope that they would be able to explore and chase whatever passions they had. For me, obviously, a passion is drones, and my oldest daughter has begun to share that with me as well. And when she asked me if girls could fly drones too, it kind of hurt my heart a little bit. That's why I'm excited today to talk to Sharon Rossmark and Wendy Erikson from Women in Drones. It's an organization focused on advocacy for females in drones and STEM in general. So I'm excited to talk to them today about a few of the initiatives they have going on right now, as well as their two new books that were just released on Amazon. So let's talk with Women in Drones founder Sharon Rossmark and Emmy Award-winning journalist Wendy Erikson. Ladies, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to have you on. And as I like to do, let's start with the why. So to that end, I guess let's talk a little bit about the why. Obviously, as the name implies, women and drones. Obviously, you're focused on women and drones. Is drones your sole focus, or what is the why behind your organization?
So our mission is twofold. This is Sharon, so I'll speak first. Our mission is twofold. The first part is that we feature women who are disrupting, innovating, and shaping the future of the UAS industry, and thus allowing them to make global business connections. So that was our primary starting premise of the organization. And as we've evolved, we now have put in place an educational platform that focuses on learning through the wonders of flying robots. So by exposing students to STEM and giving them opportunities to explore STEM-related concepts, they hopefully will develop a passion for it and eventually spark a passion for a future career in a STEM-related field, such as being a pilot, working in some other aspect of the industry, and or perhaps even aviation. But it's all about integrating the various elements of STEM and how drones fall into that realm. From our standpoint, right now we're in the drone space, but we constantly are being asked about scoping out other arenas, particularly in the autonomous vehicle arena. Mm-hmm. And so we're looking at that, but right now those two are our primary focus. Wendy, anything you want to add?
No, I well said. I kind of, the way I think about it is the fact that I started out getting into the world of drones, as I call it, by just the interest in photography and what drones can do, open up a whole new perspective on the world. But once I started researching drone use in photography, that opened up the whole can of worms, as they say, to the whole unmanned arena, and just fascinating. The implications for the other applications and implications for what else drones can do. And we're seeing the potential uses on a daily basis.
And that's, so your background, obviously you're a journalist by trade. Is photography a passion of yours? And if so, what kind of drones do you like to use? As far as, are you a nature photographer? Do you like action stuff? What's your specialty there?
Right. Well, I am a broadcast journalist by training, 25 years in the business. And I just enjoy telling stories that are visual. And so I was watching a network news one night. I'm a news junkie. And I saw my first drone image on network news of a hurricane, it was an earthquake aftermath in the Philippines. I was watching the news and on came this image from above, and it said drone photo. And I was like, wow. In one picture, it told the whole story of the devastation that this earthquake had caused. And I was just thinking to myself, this is a game changer for the industry I've spent 25 years in, to be able to put a drone in the air quickly, efficiently, and with no danger to the people, the journalists on the ground, and tell this story to the world. And that was my moment. So I bought, my first drone was a unique Typhoon Q500. was attracted to that because it had the monitor and everything in one control. Of course, it's not even 3 years old and it's completely obsolete.
Yeah, well, that happens. That happens.
That's the frustrating part. It's almost worse than cell phones. You buy one and the next day you're like, oh, I should have waited. But no, it's a great drone. I still have it. I have not crashed it. I very much enjoy my Mavic Pro. It's been a great drone. And then I also have a Parrot Mambo, and these are so much fun to fly. So that's my fleet.
I have to ask, is that the one that has the little dart gun that you can shoot, or is that a different?
Don't have the dart gun.
Okay.
Don't have the dart gun for this one. But your original question, what do I like to take pictures of? I just love looking at anything from 300 feet in the air. And you guys know, images, you can take pictures of an industrial complex and it can look so amazing. I know maybe Kara Murphy, who is a drone photographer, and she can make a truck yard from above, or just buildings that look one way from the ground and you look at it from above and it's beautiful, and maybe not so much from the ground. So I just enjoy any images from that vantage point from above.
Absolutely. I like I said, to talk about kind of things getting antiquated. My first drone that I had was a Inspire 1, and I bought it when it was brand new. And of course now it just recently they said they were going to stop supporting it. So a few years and there you go. And it was state of the art, when I bought it. But I remember I bought it and was recording some oil wells for a company that I was doing some consulting for. And, like you said, even something as simple as a burnout old oil well, all of a sudden it gets new life when you're looking at it from above. And I think that's one of the huge attractions to drones in general, is this totally unique perspective that humans were really unable to get, at least at this scale, up until recently. So obviously that was kind of your aha moment with drones. How did y'all transition that, or did that immediately kind of launch you into this idea of, well, we need to start women in drones, we need to get the word out? Or what was that process like?
That would be Sharon.
Yeah, so the impetus for starting Women in Drones actually came to me. I was invited to speak at a drone conference, to be on a panel. This goes back a couple of years. And that's when drone conferences were, having high attendance rates. And so I wanted to reach out to some of the other panelists just to get some insights to their perspective on what we would be discussing. And there was nothing available other than I had their names. And of course I could look up on LinkedIn, but there was no way to connect and collaborate with them. And so I thought, it would probably be a good idea to have a platform to do that. So I literally made up some postcards, had them printed real quick through Vistaprint, had my web guy throw together a intro website, and I went off to the conference and passed out the postcards and said, hey, we're going to be starting this idea. What do you think? And people seemed to think it was a great idea, the opportunity to collaborate and tell their story and be featured on what I thought was going to be a national platform. And it quickly grew into a global platform. So it really evolved. It started off as a proof of concept. And by May of last year, we were off and running and decided it's time to go ahead and legitimize this in terms of the business operations. And so that's what we've done.
Wow. And it's, obviously looking through the site, it looks like since then you've certainly had quite a few people that you've interviewed as well. You talked about showcasing people. I mean, everything from teachers to attorneys to, mapping engineers. I mean, you've run quite the gamut, it seems like.
Well, they say that drones are changing the world for the better. And the fact that there are so many industries, I've last counted well over 15, 20 industries that are knee deep into utilizing drones in terms of part of their activity for their business operations. And so that just demonstrates the breadth and depth of the impact that drones are having around the globe.
Absolutely. And I was there, and I know y'all were there as well. And I'm sorry we weren't able to connect up there at Exponential for AUVSI. And during one of the talks there, they said that I want to say it was north of like 84% of the organizations that implemented drones saw a positive ROI within the first year. And
Right.
and that's unheard of for most programs or new initiatives. And so I think, like you said, it definitely goes to speak to not only the breadth and depth, but just the total impact that these types of systems can have on any industry. I believe that we've barely scratched the surface in regards to what industries are going to be able to use this moving forward.
Oh, absolutely. Whenever we're doing educational sessions, just in terms of engaging local communities around drone capabilities, people are always surprised. We ask the questions, what do you know about drones? And typically the response will be the neighbor kid that flew over their house or flew into the tree. And when we start sharing with them examples of the various industries of how they're utilizing drones to increase safety and decrease costs, and improve efficiencies, they're always surprised.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So to that end, and either one of you can jump in on this, but is there an industry right now that you see is on the cusp of really starting to adopt this technology that maybe isn't, but that you see a huge opportunity in?
I see a huge opportunity in the telecommunications industry. When you were just talking about inspection and just improving efficiency. I say that because I studied communications in college a long, long time ago, and we had a whole class on telecommunications. And I just, of course, couldn't even imagine cell phones that long ago. So I think personally, I was just reading an article about the telecommunications, and it just hit me what drones are going to do for that industry in particular, but the list goes on. Sharon?
Yeah, so I recently was invited to come out to Vegas to host, to facilitate a panel at a drone conference. At an energy conference, and on the topic of drones. And I was surprised at the total engagement of everyone sitting in the audience and asking questions about drones. And so what I'm finding is that while that may be one that's not a surprise from an energy standpoint, it is amazing how they're just starting to tip their toe into that water. Mm-hmm. And so what we found was variations in interest ranging from, we definitely have to do that, to, it sounds like a good idea, let's get more information. But I can definitely see that next year this time, those same companies will probably have made leaps and bounds forward progress towards engaging a drone program within their organizations. Well, along those same lines, what I took away from facilitating the panel and hearing some of the comments from the audience is that those organizations that had a drone program in place, most of them were implemented or initiated at the bottom up to the organization. It was not a top-down. Mm-hmm. And once someone in the organization, about middle management, finally said, you know what, maybe we should take a look at this and put an ROI to it and take it upstairs to, mm-hmm. A higher executive, that's when they said they broke through. But they said it was a lot of work, a lot of work meaning a lot of conversation, because mm-hmm. they weren't in a position to buy one. But to your point, once they were implemented, the ahas were across the board. Let's do this, a thumbs up.
Mm-hmm. And so do you feel, because obviously this that I'm talking about here was in like late 2015, obviously prior to Part 107 being put out. And so there was definitely a lot more regulatory hurdles trying to get something like that stood up. Do you feel like 107 has made it easier, obviously, for companies to try to engage that? And so do you feel like that has increased the rate of adoption?
I think 107 has put in some standards and some regulation that allows everyone to have the same starting point. I think the process still needs to evolve, but pre-107, I think it was a cluster and everyone was all over the place. Yep. And at least stabilized and given everyone at least the same playbook to start with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. It's been a good baseline for people to gauge somebody's knowledge in this industry and companies as well, which we didn't have before. So much gray area. And there certainly still is a lot of gray area, but the black and white is starting to emerge. The line is starting to emerge. So I do believe in that respect, 107 has been a step forward, or a couple steps forward, than before we had 107.
Yeah. And so St. Louis and Chicago, y'all don't have Lance isn't active in your area as of yet, is it? I don't believe.
Not in St. Louis.
Not yet.
What
yet.
phase? We've seen the chart or the map, though. I know that we're on the map. I don't know exactly where we are in St. Louis, but it's coming.
Yeah, well, we've been working out all of the kinks for you down here in Texas, and it's certainly been a step in the right direction. Not perfect, but a step in the right direction, certainly.
Yeah. In particular, Lance is going to be a godsend for the broadcast journalism industry, because, that's a really tough part, to be able to cover breaking news when, you've got to go. And so all of the journalists that I know well that work at the TV stations that I still keep in touch with, the drones aren't helping their breaking news coverage situation in any way, shape, or form, because they can't get an authorization. So that's again light at the end of that tunnel.
Yeah, if you knew in advance when the news was going to happen, I think you'd have a totally different agency.
That's right. So good thing. Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about the books that you guys have just come out with. I guess I think we touched on them a little bit earlier. What kind of drove the desire to write those?
Well, the books are a key part of our educational platform, which we call Learning Through the Wonder of Flying Robots. And what drove them was really our desire to reach a younger audience. Last summer, we did a number of proof of concepts around education, one of which was summer camp programs. And in several instances, there were young children, young being under the age of 8, that were part of the camp program, but because of the nature of our programming, they really weren't able to participate, because they brought us in actually for the middle and high school kids. And I saw those kids all day sitting over to the side, coloring and laughing and talking, but not really, and it wasn't appropriate in terms of the level of conversation for them to engage. And I said, we need to come up with something for younger kids. And what better way than for them to be able to see people that look like them or characters that look like them when they're coloring, learning words, and really understanding. And so many times when we ask kids in our programming, what do you know about drones? They'll tell you, oh, my brother or my dad or my mom got a drone, opened the box and put it in the air and hit a tree or hit the neighbor's house. And so we're very focused on making sure from the various early ages that they kind of understand the vocabulary and the rules and regulations at a very simple state, but then also can identify with the type of careers and jobs that are being modeled in the coloring book, and then, of course, exposure to aviation.
Yeah, and I'll add, Jonathan, I have 3 daughters. And now mine are much older. I have 23, 20, and 16. And I had just gone through my first round of getting a daughter through college when I met Sharon, and just through a daughter who was really good at math and science and had to pick a major and just didn't want to go there. My husband's an engineer and I'm a journalist. My TV studio, to her was much more exciting. But her criteria were that she was picking a career. She wanted to make a lot of money, and she wanted to, have excitement, and she wanted to be able to live where she wanted to live. And I said, well, then you're going to have to go towards the engineering side of things. But what I started having to do for her is show her examples of, an engineer. Here's an engineer. She's a woman. She's a chemical engineer, but she works for a cosmetics company. I had to give these visual examples for her, because when you say to kids, here are some job description: an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, here's somebody who works with robotics. They can't visualize engineering and robotics all of the time. Sounds like you've got a good start with your daughter, but mine couldn't do that. And so, and I realized that, starting sooner, this whole process would have been a lot easier on me. So I did convince my daughter. She is an engineer. She got a biological engineering degree, but it was really a struggle. And I realized, like I said, that if I'd started earlier and had some books to get them going like this, get that thinking going. Giving them visual examples. The kids need to be able to see themselves. And something about when I'm flying my drone or when Sharon's flying her drone, right off the bat, when they see a woman flying a drone, the girls are more interested. Well, maybe I can do that. And if hers isn't crashing, maybe when I try it, mine won't crash. Girls in particular, I find, are very worried about, how they are presented and not being presented as they don't understand something, or they don't aren't going to be good at something. At least that in my experience as a mother of girls. And so examples work really well. And so our book is one of our things is the book is full of images of girls flying drones. That's a good start.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like I said, my daughter, my oldest daughter is 11, and she was reading through it, and like I said, immediately asked two questions. One, can we go outside and fly? And two, when is the next air show? And it was almost immediate, which was interesting to me because I thought, okay, wow, like whatever they were trying to do, I think they just did it right here, right? I mean, it was immediate. And my daughter's always had an interest in it, I think, from watching me and being involved with that. But I could probably count on one hand the number of times she's asked me to go out and fly. So it was a nice change of pace there.
Exactly. And I just wanted to throw in there, why does it seem, before I got into this anyway, why does it seem like an air show is something that a family with boys would be more interested in? Why is my AMA RC Flying Club here in St. Louis, why am I one of 2 women and 60 men, wonderful men? But why is that? And that's what Women in Drones, what these books, what we're trying to change. And something about drones, and goes back to what you were saying earlier in the conversation when you were explaining the oil and gas industry. Something about drones gets people, girls, boys, men, women, interested and excited. So it's a great tool for what we're doing.
And so do you think that is because drones are perhaps more accessible and understandable than previous robotics iterations would have been? I mean, even from when I was younger, if you wanted to get into robotics or any type of autonomous systems, you really had to invest a lot of time and energy even to get started. And it seems now with drones being a little bit more accessible, it makes it an easier step for, anybody, girls, young boys, children, even adults. I have a lot of students who come to me who are retirees and who are like, I want to get into drones now. I've had an entire career and now I just want to do this. And there's something about it that says, yeah, you can do this. Like this, you can get into this if you want to. Has that helped y'all's initiatives in regards to that education pipeline? I mean, just because of the accessibility of drones?
Oh, absolutely. Between the technology, the capabilities, and when you look at the different women around the globe that we've interviewed and their backgrounds, drones touch every industry, as we were discussing earlier. And so I think that has everything to do with it. Absolutely.
The fact that you walk into a Best Buy and there are drones, Costco, there are drones, there are consumer, level, consumer grade products that everyone sees, is a great advertisement or great incentive for people. It doesn't mean that they're going to buy one and go fly it, but if they go to the park and see you flying it or see me flying it, they'll look and say, well, if they can do it, maybe I can do it. Yeah. And what makes that different than any other robotics that we've had? I don't know what it is exactly, but something about drones makes them more interesting and more exciting for a lot of different applications.
No, certainly. And I think that, the technological advancements that make them so easy, a lot of them so easy to fly, has helped as well. And it seems like y'all aren't alone in your mission. I just was thinking about this just now. Obviously when we were, I'll reference again the exponential for AUVSI up there in Denver. I know I was talking to Tracy Lamb, whom I'm sure y'all are both familiar with, and she was mentioning that they were having a special summit just for women in the unmanned systems industry. And I thought, obviously with her being the chief pilot for AUVSI and being extremely accomplished and credentialed herself, that's maybe helped drive some of the initiatives.
That is, again, what our website does. We tell stories about women who are doing things in the drone industry and a wide variety, wildlife conservation and women in drone law, working in that field. Everyone brings different talents to the table, and there is a place in the industry. You don't have to be the drone pilot. We need people to design the drone, the flying robots. We need people to, come up with the new uses. So there's bring your talents to the table, and we need to show these little girls that you might love. You want to be an artist, and you love photography. Well, then you would be a drone photographer, but you might want to help animals and work in wildlife conservation. Here is somebody who's using drones to achieve, to help her in that job. So lots of those opportunities. Go ahead, Sharon. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to add to your point about having daughters. We hear from men, and one of the most common comments we hear is something along the lines of, thank you for presenting women in various roles across this industry. Mm-hmm. It helps me, share with my daughter examples of what they can consider for opportunities. But one guy in particular struck me because he said, I now take my daughter out flying, which before I hadn't thought about even taking her. Mm-hmm. And now she goes out and fly drones with me.
So I know these books are one of your initiatives to try to drive that at a younger level. What other kind of initiative? I know you mentioned something about the Women to Watch. Can you tell me a little bit more about that and how that fits into your overall plan?
Yeah, so Women to Watch was started last year as an idea to, again, identify those women who are disrupting and innovating and really helping to shape the industry is kind of our motto. And every organization that I've ever been affiliated with, every industry, there's always been a top 40 under 40 or 20 in their 20s or the top executives here or the top 10 lawyers there. And no one was doing that in our industry. What little was being done, it was inclusive of any women. And so I thought, well, we're women in drones. We might as well identify women around the globe that are disrupting, innovating, and shaping this industry. Mm-hmm. And so last year was our inaugural year with that. It was considered a success. We don't have winners, we have honorees. And right now we're actually in the midst of finalizing the submissions from 2018 so we can hand those out to our judging committee to select the honorees for 2018.
Okay, and excellent. And speaking of nominations and being honored, I recognize that y'all were recently recognized as a top company to watch in the industry yourselves.
Yeah, we were excited about that. We didn't even know we were under, consideration, and we just got the email one day saying congratulations, and we were thrilled. I couldn't get the email to Wendy fast enough.
And was that something that you had been nominated for that you didn't know? I mean, obviously you said you didn't know about it, or was it just something that they picked you up and liked what you were doing?
They selected us. We had not submitted anything. I wasn't even aware that they were putting the list together. I know that they've done it in the past, but, it wasn't even on our radar.
So rewarding and flattering and a great payback for all the hard work that, goes into starting anything from the ground up. But most of all, that kind of attention really is rewarding when it comes to hearing from more women who say, I didn't even know you guys were out there, and I didn't even know that that there were women doing this with drones, and I'm so inspired. I love photography, and I heard about drones and I wanted to buy one, and now I see that I can do it. So that is the most exciting part of any kind of award.
Excellent, excellent. Well, yeah, like I said, I know Alan and those guys over there at UAV Coach are top-notch people, so that's a great award to be honored with. So what's next for y'all then? Obviously, I know you don't want to stop where you're at. It seems like you've got some really good momentum moving forward. You've got 2 new books out. Are there going to be more books? Is there something more that we should expect in the future? What are we looking at?
So Drone Girls is going to be a series. The next one is scheduled for launch in August. Fingers crossed, with Illustrator and all the other steps it takes to bring it together. Okay. But this line is complete, but that one is scheduled for launch in August.
Okay, so so the first one is Drone Girls and the Airshow Adventure. The second one, is there a title for it yet, or is it?
It is, but we have to keep it under wraps because it's so cool. It is so cool. We have to keep it under wraps.
Okay, well that one will be August. And what about another coloring book? Should we expect other craft books? I mean, you said it's going to be a whole series.
Yes, so that too will be a series, different characters, different scenarios, but yes, that too will be a series.
Awesome. Well, I will have to keep a lookout for those. Like I said, my oldest daughter loved the Airshow book, and my youngest daughter has been having a blast with the coloring and craft book. So I have to look at the second ones when they come out.
Well, that just warms my heart. And tell them, feel free to submit any suggestions or their own critique.
Okay.
We need to know that, our readers like what they're reading. I was just going to mention, too, in terms of your question about what's in the future, I think we will keep going and creating more books and doing what we do in hopes that that the number of females who right now the one gauge we have is the fact that only about 4%, rising closer to 5% of women who are taking the Part 107 test, getting their FAA certification. It's only almost 5% of the rest are all men. So we want that number to keep going up. Certainly women who are just doing it for hobby as well. We want that number, but what we can measure right now is the number of people taking their Part 107 certification. We want the female portion of that pie to keep getting bigger.
Right.
So what would you tell, and to kind of land the plane a little bit, so to speak, what would you tell a new pilot, male or female, just getting started in the industry? What kind of advice would you give them?
I would say become a sponge, learn all that you can, reach out to others in the industry, ask for help, attend conferences, meet others along the way. There's plenty of room for men and women who share our passion, both in drones and aviation. And as long as you're willing to put forth the effort, others will help you along your learning curve. So I'd say come on in and join us. The sky's the limit.
I would just add, I think you have to be okay with going outside of your comfort zone. Different personalities don't have a problem with that, but I think you have to be okay with going outside your comfort zone. And I, as I mentioned, joined an AMA club that was all men in their 70s, but they have embraced me with open arms. But that first initial walk in the door, it's a little intimidating. And my first, flying a drone for the first time, somebody else's drone, and that schoolgirl worry of, oh my gosh, what if I crash it? You have to be okay with going past your comfort zone to pursue anything in this very new and exciting world of drones.
I think that's both great advice, certainly, for anybody trying to get into the industry. And I know you mentioned, trying to get connected and all that. Do y'all host any meetups, or do you organize any meetups specifically for, females who are interested in the industry?
Well, funny you should ask. So what I've been doing in the past is coordinating meetups at various drone industry conferences. But one of the things that's on the drawing board, and it literally is just on the drawing board, and we just sent a survey out to our members asking for input because we have received so many inquiries, is about having a drone retreat for women.
Wow.
And giving them an opportunity to get together and learn in what we would call probably a safer learning environment where they can ask individual questions, learn from other women, and then just overall have a retreat. So we've had so many inquiries about it, we decided let's do a survey and see what they have to say about it. And so we're getting those responses in now. We just sent a survey out last week. But in the past, up until this point, we've just had a specific meeting point at various conferences where we just get together and either huddle and talk and have fun or drinks, or have a luncheon. Many of the conferences will host a Women in Drones luncheon also.
And I know y'all do some speaking as well, and the events, if they wanted to see either one of you speak or get to know you a little bit better, where would be the next place they would have that opportunity?
Well, I do a lot of speaking here in the Chicagoland area, and I know Wendy is in the St. Louis area. My next big speech opportunity is in Australia, actually, in August. I'm going to be speaking at the World of Drone Congress in the middle of August.
Oh, wow. Well, that's, I don't even know. Is Australia hot in the middle of August? I don't know.
Well, that's actually their winter, but it's not Chicago winter. It's probably more like Texas winter, I would say.
Which is
then Wendy and I also are speaking at Interdrone in September.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
That's a little bit closer for a lot of our women out there.
Absolutely.
The Interdrone.
Okay. Excellent. Well, I think we're about out of time. I don't want to keep you all for too terribly much longer, but I do know that Drone Girls in the Airshow Adventure is available on Amazon right now. And I have read it to my daughter. If you've got kids, if you've got daughters, get it. It's a great book. And also Fun with Drones, the coloring activity book. If you have younger kids or even older kids, my daughter got mad because I stole her crayons and started coloring it in myself. So it's fun for all ages, I guess. But those are both available right now on Amazon. And the new Drone Girls Adventure will be available in August. And I don't know what the title is yet, but I'm sure it's going to be great as well. Wendy, Erikson, and Sharon Rossmark from Women in Drones. If you have not checked out their website yet, www.womenanddrones.com. If you are a woman or you like drones, especially if you're a woman who likes drones, go check it out. You will absolutely love what they're doing over there. And that's it. That's it for us today. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, take care. And to all our viewers and listeners, thanks for joining us this week. Come back next week when we talk to Justin Kaiser from Schedule Drone about how drone service providers can increase efficiency and optimize their operations. Until then, take care and fly safe.